Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Around South Jersey. Tonight, my special guest is Tony Novak, and when I first met Tony, I didn't know how smart he was. I did not know that he was a CPA, Masters of Business Administration, and Masters in Taxes. I'm thinking, this guy's some, down Money Island dude. He's got some place in Money Island, right?
Right.
That's what we talked about. You didn't tell me how smart you were.
Well, I try to stay under the radar, Jim.
Well, I got to tell you, I couldn't be happier. My accountant, who I've had for several years, got a big paying job with a firm in Cumberland County, and he's closing his accounting firm. And I went, oh, my God, what am I going to do? And then I thought, I know this lady down the street who has this handsome husband, and maybe I could talk to her about getting her husband to do my accounting. And it was Tony. And what's your boy's first name?
Lori.
Lori's beautiful. Tony's great, and they throw good parties too. Yeah, and he used to, Wednesday nights you have dinners down at the Sailing Club. He used to, right?
We're going to get back to it.
That's good when it gets a little better weather-wise.
Yeah.
So, Tony, let's talk first about Money Island. When I first met you, tell everybody what your goal was, what was happening, and what you've done.
Now, it's interesting that you raised the tax issue relations to Money Island. Actually, and this is a story that I don't share very often because it's so old, but my original exposure to Money Island was back, and I say before the internet wow. age, and before the words podcast and those terms. I had a recording contract to do HR tax recordings for Rockhurst University. And I had little kids back at home, and I couldn't record at home, and my office was just too crazy.
Right.
So I actually bought that little cabin at Money Island as a recording studio.
Wow!
And
you never
just
told
back,
me that.
Yeah,
That's
no,
neat.
I never. It just doesn't come up in conversation.
Yeah.
But that was the original purpose. It was dead quiet. There was nobody around, and we recorded over a hardwire telephone line. They recorded burn onto CDs and sold the CDs. So that's dating myself there.
So what year did you start with Money Island?
So this was the early 90s.
Okay.
My friend, who was also a CPA, had bought the place and married a wonderful wife, but she was more of a city girl and didn't want anything to do with it. I wound up taking over there. And then one property, then bought another property, and one thing led to another. I joke about it. My mistake was wandering outside and getting involved with the neighbors and the watermen there. But I say that jokingly. I'm really glad I did. I've made a lot of good friends and a lot of good relationships. And Money Island is important to the local economy. And,
sure was, wasn't it? I mean, didn't a lot of the oyster or fishing boats and things go from that era?
And arguably more important now. Now, just going back, Newport Landing was very important. Was a caviar shipping port and vegetables, and there's some wonderful pictures. But now, Money Island is important because millions. The number of millions changes depending on how you're measuring it, but millions of dollars of oysters come in from that cove called Nantuxent Cove in Money Island's port and are driven up the road to processing plants. In the old days, they brought them in through Port Norris and Shell Pile. But under modern shellfish handling laws, that's not practical. They just couldn't get them cooled quickly enough.
Oh, I see.
So that's why, just because of federal laws and shellfish handling, is why Money Island is important. Now, we've also, I'm happy to say, I played a role in helping revive the small-time hand-raked oyster industry, and we now have right now 5, we're called hand-tongers, oystermen working. So these are, hand-raked, natural-grown wild oysters that are in big demand, top-notch quality, sustainable harvest. And for that type of role, again, I'm not out there raking the oysters, but supporting these guys doing it, I think, is a worthwhile effort.
That's fantastic. I didn't know that, Tony.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we have a significant crab industry also.
Yeah, right.
So between the crabs and the oysters, Money Island is I'm told, the second largest dollar seafood landing port in the state of New Jersey
No kidding.
that nobody's ever heard of.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
So Cape May, of course, is number one,
Right, yeah.
with scallops
Understandable, yeah.
down there. But Money Island is number 2 in seafood landings.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
cool. I wonder if Sybil gets any of those oysters.
Yeah, he does have a local supply, and I'm guessing that they do. There's only a few companies, and there's
Right.
only a few boats
Yeah.
that bring them in, so they're traceable. Now, one of my neighbors told me there's only 5 of us left, by the way, down at Money
I was
Island.
going to, I was going to ask you who's
Yeah.
still at Money
Yeah.
Island.
And for 5 of us, and 2 are in late life stages,
Okay.
unfortunately. So, and one of those, a good neighbor, told me he was out in Chicago, and he was at a restaurant, and it said oysters from Money Island, New Jersey,
I'll
at a
be
Chicago
darned.
restaurant.
Isn't that something?
And
Wow.
yeah, now he's of that age where he didn't have a little camera phone
Right,
to
yeah.
snap a picture,
Yeah.
but he told me about it when he
Oh,
got back.
that is
so-
cool. That is really neat.
yeah.
So, where are we on the takeover of Money Island from the state?
Yeah. So I
mean,
don't.
you
yeah,
were sort
yeah.
of-
So I don't know that takeover is a good word
Okay.
for understanding. So
Okay.
you know, the whole Bayshore region was making progress and is making
Yeah,
progress.
right.
The latest DEP initiative is to put the brakes on every project, and they want to redesign every project for an additional 18 inches of sea level water rise.
Okay.
Now, you may have heard, Fortescue was all set to go with their sewer treatment
Right,
plan.
yeah.
Our mayor stopped me
Yeah.
in the hardware store down in Cedarville, said, I want the word out. We have our final permit. It's going forward. It's going out to bid. And sure enough, the next month we were down at the League of Municipalities
Yeah.
in Atlantic City,
Uh-huh.
and the word from DEP was we're putting the brakes on every
Oh, no.
project
Oh, my
to
God,
redesign
that's
it to raise for another 18 inches.
Jeez.
So, yeah, that's
That's tough.
tough. That's tough.
Yeah, because I was excited. The property values were doubling, and we're going to get ratables, and Dow Township was going to be really doing very, very well. And I have a friend who kept saying, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And I said, no, it's going to happen. And Bob Campbell worked very, very hard on it. And have you seen him lately?
Haven't seen him. We talk once in a while.
Okay. Tell him I
And,
said hello. I
yeah.
haven't seen
None of us are getting any younger, so
Yeah, I really liked Bob. He was a good
Yeah,
guest. And
yeah.
he really fought hard for Dow
did.
Township. He'd go up to Trenton, and that seems like whatever they can do to slow it down, they are able. And this sounds like another way of slowing it down. It's like, come on, guys, let's move this forward, because we are so lucky with Money Island, Gandy's Beach, and Fortescue. It's the other Jersey shore.
right,
Beautiful,
right,
right?
right. And I'm sure it won't surprise you, Jim, with your background in government, if I say that the various branches of government do not work together.
No, they don't.
On coordination.
No.
And that is our big issue down there.
No.
We have the state, even this week, we have, I counted last week, we had 4 work crews down there doing opposite types of projects. One's working to close down the roads, the other one's working to reopen the roads.
Oh my God!
There's just a lack of coordination, and of course I see it because I'm there
Yeah.
on the ground and
Yeah.
talking to these guys. And unfortunately, the lack of coordination between the state, the county, which owns
Yeah.
the bridges,
Right.
the township that has to take care of the roads,
right.
they're
Oh,
just
that's a
not
shame.
communicating.
I'm
It's
so
a shame.
sorry to hear that, because I was really excited about moving forward and what they were going to be able to do.
It will. I really think it will.
But I hope in our lifetime. That's all I'm
That's
asking.
and actually we're stealing. That's Bob Campbell's line.
That is line.
Bob says every project I do takes another 10 years. I don't know how many more 10 years I have left in me.
Yeah.
So, at the end, that's stealing his line,
Yeah.
but that's absolutely the truth. So yeah,
I had a funny story. Geez. I'm trying to think. Steve Barry is a friend of mine, and Steve is a Democrat, and I'm a Democrat. And right now, man, the red wave, everything's Republican everywhere. There's only 3 Democratic mayors in Cumberland County: Mayor Kelly, the mayor of mayor of Fairfield Township, and my buddy Mike Vizard in Commercial Township. So things are very, very strongly, going red. And in fact, I'm very impressed that like Senator Testa and Antoine McClellan and Simonson are the senator and the 2 assembly people. And a friend of mine said to me one time, he's the same age as me, and we were laughing. He goes, Jim, we should run for the assembly. And I said, why is that, Steve? He said, what we could do is our slogan could be, you don't have to worry about term limitations on us. God's going to limit our terms. I said, yeah, but we'd never be able to win it. But I thought that was cute. But speaking of that aging, I mean, think about it. You got Trump is my age. You got Biden's older than me. And if Biden runs again, he'd be 82. It's like getting up there.
Well, I'll put my 2 bits in. But yeah, there's a big sentiment out there that's anti-age, that thinks that there's a big group of population that just says somebody that's 80 or 82 can't be a leader, doesn't have mental sharpness. Right. And I can tell you, that's my client niche that I work with. It's not true.
I have a lot.
Certainly,
of
the brain changes.
Yeah, right.
And certainly there are issues. They're different issues than when we were younger, but they balance each other out. And I see plenty of older, sharp people, and it's why we call it wisdom of the ages.
Yeah.
There is wisdom in older people. And if you could have somebody carry your suitcases for you and just do the thinking part, I'm 62 and I'm hoping to work for. Well, I'm hoping to stay in the profession until I'm 80. People say, why? Well, why not? There's nothing else.
Yeah, well, it's like me. I don't have a pension. I love what I do. How much better to get to interview my favorite accountant. You know what I mean? And I got to take this back now. Unfortunately, I always said, I'm just going to drop dead right here behind a set, and I was going to call RoCap Shannon to come pick me up. Unfortunately, Timmy passed away, so I don't know what's going to happen there. But, I guess what it says is I enjoy, and you do too, enjoy what you do. You're a people person. You enjoy helping people, being with people, and, and all that. So, I mean, yeah, I guess I just never wanted to retire. I don't know what I would do. I'd be bored to death. If I
see it as a blessing.
Yeah.
We can continue to do this. And in fact, I was actually asked to give a talk later this month for the Bridgeton Rotary on the topic of neurological developments and psychological develops in the field of personal money management and our personal reaction to it. And it's fascinating what can be done and what advances, what things we've learned about how our brains work and how our brains can be continue to evolve in ways that benefit us, despite the fact that the rest of our bodies are falling apart.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing. And a lot of it, too, is nutrition and, try to eat properly and, do the things that keep you healthy and work out a little bit and all that kind of stuff. But in fact, speaking of that, our earlier guests, the Jennings were here, and you knew them from the Holly City Family Center?
Holly City Family Center, I think, is a great resource here in Millville.
It is.
I'm glad I discovered it. It's, for me, I mentioned, I have a long, old school background in I grew up in gyms, traditional gym rat, and not the Planet Fitness type, but the old kind.
Yeah, I know. Same with me. I belong to the fitness connection.
And so Holly City reminds me of that. I feel very comfortable there, and I'm glad we have a fantastic value with the pool and the people, and we're very comfortable there.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that, because I know that they're an asset to our community, and we really need them. And it's the only place in Millville that has a pool besides the fitness section. In fact, they were talking on the previous program about a triathlon where you can swim so many minutes and treadmill so many minutes and bike so many minutes. So you have those three things that you can do. Do you know? You know Sybil, right? From
absolutely.
Or from
great guy,
wasn't he? Though?
Family, yeah.
See, I always said to him, I've done this show for 47 years. When you were 6 years old, right? 10 years old, whatever. Anyway, I said I always wanted to have somebody with one name, like Elvis and Cher. They wouldn't come on. Even Sinbad, I almost got him, but he's now not feeling well. So I said I finally got a famous person with one name, Sybil. That's his name.
He's a wonderful person,
He is,
but
isn't
I
he?
got to throw in. So I never talk about Sybil without also mentioning Amy.
Oh, she's a sweetheart.
Yeah, she's a sister, and she's a partner, and she deserves as much.
She does,
He
yeah.
does grab
Yeah.
the attention.
Yeah.
But
Well, I find her to be much more attractive than him.
I go out of my way to mention it.
She is a
Fantastic.
sweetheart. Amy's
People are-
great.
yeah.
She really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just being there is so much fun. I mean, oh my God, Sybil is an entertainer, isn't he?
Yes, absolutely.
Man.
Yeah.
He's a hugger and entertainer.
We like to bring the whole kids. We have grown kids, so my
Yeah.
wife and her adult daughter and my adult daughter, they just have such a blast. And the boys here just enjoy just watching them play off each other, and it's always a great time whenever
Yeah.
we have a family dinner down there.
Yeah, it really is. I took a friend of mine for her birthday down there. We had a wonderful meal and just everything. The food is so fantastic. I was saying, Winfield's used to have this sea bass that they would make, and I loved it. It was my favorite meal. Well, now Sybil makes it, and it's just as good. It's delicious. I really enjoy his quality food. And when I have him on as a guest, he's the best guest I have. Of course, you're going to do some accounting for me, but he brings in 2 bottles of wine. He brings in 2 desserts. Oh, my God, Tony, that key lime pie dessert is like the best. I love it. If
Yes,
you've
it
had that
is.
or not.
Yeah,
It's like,
I
wow.
remember. Yeah.
He really does well.
Now you're making me hungry.
Yeah, I know.
We'll have to go back down there.
Yeah, he's not open tonight. Plus, you got to have reservations when you
Right.
call Sybil. We'll be back to talk with my accountant, Tony Novak, and talk about changes in the accounting rules and regulations, and maybe a little more about the wonderful Money Island, where he helped save a place down there. And we'll be doing all that right after these messages.
More than a century ago, General Tire was born, right here in America. Since then, we've made a name for ourselves by making tires you can depend on. Tires built to handle any road this country can throw at them, and relied on by every kind of driver. So you know that no matter where life takes you, with General Tire, anywhere is possible.
I'm Brian Lankin, 3rd generation business owner, Al Shoes. Been at the same location since 1961, our 61st year. We specialize in work boots, work shoes, orthopedic shoes, baby walking shoes, and school shoes. We go up to a men's 17 and a woman's 13. It's $5 off 25 and 10 off 100 if you mention that you've seen this.
The most important decisions a family can make are usually made around the kitchen table. At DeMarco Luisi Funeral Home, we believe pre-planning and the difficult decisions you face with the loss of a loved one should also be made around the comfort of a table, like a family. Our friendly, kind, and compassionate staff is committed to helping you get through this most difficult time. In your time of need, trust DeMarco Luisi Funeral Home, Vineland.
Complete Care Health Network has some big news to share with you.
We're here opening more locations and offering more services every day,
including our newest locations on Pearl Street in Bridgeton and High Street in Millville.
We're here with convenient, high-quality, and accessible healthcare services all under one roof.
We're here just a call or an email away.
We're here to provide compassionate care for you and your family.
We're here and we're ready when you are.
Complete Care Health Network, ready when you are.
In South Jersey, we do things our own way. We say things out loud, face things head on, and never back down. And that's how we fight cancer. With the most advanced diagnostics, leading-edge technology, and a team of doctors who know how to treat your cancer. And most importantly, we do it right here at the Frank and Edith Scarpa Cancer Center, Vineland, and the Leading Edge Cancer Center, Mullica Hill.
In Cumberland County, let's recycle right. We recycle cardboard, paper, aluminum, tin, and plastics number 1 and 2. Look for the 3-arrow triangle usually on the bottom of the plastic container. The number in the center determines the plastic number. Remember to recycle only number 1 and 2 plastics. Plastic bags, plastic film, hoses, and wires are not recyclable. They can damage sorting equipment and create hazardous working conditions. Don't trash our future. Do the right thing. Remember, reduce, reuse, and recycle.
people in Millville.
Welcome back to Around South Jersey. Jim Quinn along with my accountant, CPA Tony Novak, who has all the other masters and all those things. Now, Tony, let's talk about you growing up. Where'd you grow up?
I was a farm kid, hippie parents, and
oh, no kidding.
Dad wouldn't appreciate me saying that, but yeah, it was.
Oh, that's why you're so cool.
Yeah, well, we raised our own stuff, and I had to have homemade wheat sandwiches when all the other kids got to eat Wonder Bread. It was terrible. It was terrible. But still, the joke is that now at the marina, many of the techniques, many of the things that I do day to day,
you learn
using a certain tool, using a farm jack, those types of things come along, and rigging up a truck to move things. I learned them as a kid, as a farm kid. I went to ag school.
That's neat.
Yeah, but quickly realized there's just no. It's much better to be a gentleman farmer. Yeah. And so now the joke is, I'm sort of a gentleman aquaculturist. I have an aquaculture license, but thank God I don't have to depend on it for a living.
That's funny. My father, he just wouldn't show me how to do anything. He said, "Get out of the way, I'll do it." So I can't do anything, Tony. I absolutely have no ability to do anything whatsoever. So I admire you, besides doing CPA. You do all these other things, and you know how to handle stuff, which is fun. And so when you got out of high school, you were in Pennsylvania, right?
Right. We raised a family in Lower Merion.
Okay.
And you mentioned about not being able to do things. My two kids, wonderfully successful adults now, but they were raised Jewish, and they were raised in that culture where you don't do that stuff. You call somebody. So we were talking about retirement plans. My old age retirement plans to move into whichever one has the bigger basement. I'm headed there because they don't know how to do anything.
So Dad can do everything. Dad, come fix this. Come fix that.
That's the basic plan. Yeah.
So after you graduated high school, did you go to college, or did you?
Yeah. I went to agricultural school, and then into business school. Now it's interesting. I spent time on Wall Street for Drexel Burnham Lambert. That name doesn't mean anything, but Wolf of Wall Street rings a bell.
Okay,
that's the firm that movie. So Drexel Burnham Lambert was the most powerful Wall Street firm in that era.
Wow.
And the ironic story is the day after I left the firm, they took out a 2-page ad, double-page spread in the Wall Street Journal, and print every single employee's name. So my name was the first time listed in the Wall Street Journal, was the day after I left the firm, and they did that specifically to rub Merrill Lynch's nose into the fact that they had passed them in total underwritings.
Oh, I see.
This was Michael Milliken days. And,
sure.
Yeah, it was a wild time. But I just decided I didn't like making rich people richer.
Yeah,
and to this day.
Well, that's because you were a farmer.
Yeah, I guess.
You had values.
But, to this day, people will point out that was my biggest life mistake, was to leave that lifestyle and walk away from that.
So how much richer could you be? Come on.
Yeah, right.
What's the next $20 million? It doesn't matter that much.
So as a young guy, I just had this idea that small businesses were the real strength of this country.
Yeah.
The values, the work ethic, and the family values, and pulling the community together. That's where it was, in small businesses. So for several decades, beat my head against that wall, and we've not done well as small business. The wage and income gap and the wealth gap have continued to widen over these decades.
They sure as heck have. Yeah.
And it's been a frustrating battle, frankly.
Yeah. So it was like, I've known you at the sailing club, and we got to be friends and would talk, and even when I was with the county, and I was so impressed with what you were doing at Money Island, but I never had any clue that you were an accountant. And somewhere along the line, you did mention that, But so, how long have you been doing accounting? Is it pretty much just personal stuff?
So the other interesting part of the story is that yes, I've always been self-employed, and I had a fairly good-sized office in Narberth, Pennsylvania, right on Montgomery Avenue.
Oh, that's right. You did tell me
at some point.
You were doing that in Pennsylvania,
and decided that I wanted to go in a slightly different direction. Mm-hmm. I'll talk about that in a minute. But what came in the middle was the shocker. I was actually disabled for almost a decade.
Oh, my God.
I'm probably the only CPA, Jim, that you'll ever meet that's passed each part of the CPA exam twice.
Oh,
and it's because of that
disability.
Yeah, well, it's because of their complicated rules and the time frame of taking the test. So yeah, I had to take it in my around 40, and then again at around age 50.
Wow.
So so it took me that long to recover from traumatic head injury. I was never supposed to come back into accounting at that time, and in fact, that's how I got into the oyster industry, or oyster as a rehabilitation, as an environmental science, looked to me to be a good alternative if I couldn't do white-collar work.
Right.
That's how I got involved. That's why BaySave, our nonprofit, was established. And little by little, I would say, well, maybe I can do it. They say, no, Tony, you're crazy. You know, they tell you can't do that.
Did you fall and hit your head, or?
No, I was actually attacked down at Money Island. So there's that book out, The Drowning of Money Island, that got into that.
Geez.
So yeah, it's quite a dramatic story.
Wow.
And we talk about not knowing my background. I've actually gone out of my way, I would say, to try to fit in and get along. And one thing you don't necessarily want to do in that community is point out that you're one of the only 2% of people who have an advanced degree or are in an income bracket of a certain. It just doesn't work. Yeah. And I learned the hard way.
Yeah, I guess you did.
Yeah, and so all of the talk is that I've worked very hard over the last decade to build community and build relationships, and still it's not that easy.
No, I know. If they're part of that, they got their feet in the mud, so to speak, and they're not moving, and you're not part of them,
right.
And it's it's interesting because they get that sand between their toes and they don't want to let it go. It's their place. And
the joke is, my kids were out at dinner one day, and I might have been right there at 40. It might have been at Sybil's approximately before. Yeah. And the kids came back and said, Tony, so they were talking, and your name came up, and he said, yeah, that Tony Novak, he's an okay guy, but he's not from around here. Yeah. that's what you're facing.
Yes.
That's just how it is.
Yeah, that's what's tough. You're right. Yeah. Moving in is not easy to come in from Pennsylvania and do the things you have to do. But I know how much you love doing what you did down there. And boy, Tony, that's interesting too, because accounting is, I'm sure, something I couldn't do because I can't stay focused. I think I have ADD, so it's hard for me. If somebody said you could be an accountant, we'll pay $1 million a year, I'd say I can't do it. I really can't do it, But I admire the fact that you've got skills and the ability to do this, and to go back 10 years later and retake the test. Right. That's not easy, and I'm sure the rules changed too.
So you set up, intentionally, unplanned, you set up what I want to bring up more than anything else tonight, and that is the fact that my career has evolved from a number cruncher to more of a coach. The majority of my successful executive, high-income, high-net-worth clients have some type of issue. ADD and depression are at the top of the list.
Yeah.
But there are a whole range of other issues.
Yeah.
And the discussion among accountants, among CPAs, within our own private peer groups, is that it's an epidemic issue. And it's only gotten worse in this COVID era.
Yeah, that's true.
So, taxes and number crunching are fairly easy compared to the issues of human behavior and what's holding us back and what keeps people stuck in business where we were talking earlier about a business that's, wonderful people, but they've got a lousy business model and they don't see that.
Yeah.
And how do you break that pattern of beating your head against the wall? And a big part of my day-to-day work is people with tax problems. It's amazing how many people have tax debt, and it's ruining their lives.
Yeah.
It's ruining their relationships and their ability to buy a house. And it's from a technical point of view, it's not that hard. We can deal with it. Everyone can be solved. But getting past the psychological and the barriers that they've built up and the excuses, and so accounting the most useful degree for a CPA is probably psychology.
Yeah, that's a good point, which apparently you're doing a little bit of that too. It is interesting as I look, the COVID really hurt. And I'll tell you what's been very difficult. I've been in this business for 47 years, and it's very difficult to get advertisers. First of all, the small mom and pop businesses, a lot of them have closed up. The major corporations aren't going to come on board to advertise. And it is, we try to provide, and like I said, the good thing now is at least I can say to people, look, we had 500,000 people watch Millville football last year, folks. So, it would be worth spending, $50 to do a commercial in Millville football. But it's hard to do that. And when you look at newspapers, they're almost down, non-existent. I read the newspaper online. Radio stations are struggling. TV stations are struggling because people are using the phone. Everything's on the phone. This is an interesting story. We did millions of dollars worth of business, and that's why I'm hoping you can figure out how to do this for me now. Again, we used to do an automobile car show. You're too young. You weren't around when we were doing them. But we would go out to a car dealer, and we'd do 40, 50, in an hour, we do about a car a minute. So about 50 minutes worth of stuff and then some stuff in between. And we were doing millions of dollars worth of business with that. Wow. The car dealers were selling 40 and 50 cars a weekend. In fact, I just had them on recently, Lewiston. They came down, and we talked about that. And he said, Jim, every weekend we were on with you, we'd sell 40 to 50 used cars. Wow. Now, all you do is you grab your phone. I'm looking for a it pops up. Everything's there. It's like, so who's going to sit for an hour and watch TV when you could just grab your phone and say what you want, what you're looking to pay, and it shows everything comes up, where you can get it within the area. So Facebook and YouTube and all those things that made it tough. And even to the point where, like the local cable channel, what I pay for this, I probably should just say to the people, keep it. Because I do just as well with YouTube and with Facebook, because there I know the numbers of people that watch, as it works out. But I've done it for 47 years, so it's something to do,
But I think you have untapped assets.
Well, I'm hoping you can.
And I think we're going to have that conversation.
That's good. I hope so. I could use some advice. Well, the other thing that's bad, and that's why I need you, is I am not organized. If it wasn't for Bobby Michaelick, who's my bookkeeper, and you'll love her, she's super. I don't follow through. It's that ADD. I just gotta, I love doing this because this is fun. But to say, okay, you got to go sit down and write out this report. You got to do this, this, and this. It's like, it's not necessarily my forte. So I give you a lot of credit because you can do everything. Jeez, Peasley, you got.
Well, again, getting back to that, the fact that I went through years of cognitive therapy, became very skilled in technology-assisted productivity tools. So. Yes, I have amazing recall and amazing records and amazing follow-through, but it's not all up here. It's because I'm using the tools, and I know, and you establish a pattern.
I can use the telephone, so you've got that edge on me, too.
Right.
I grew up without all that stuff, but yeah, that is nice. You have that. Plus, the nice thing, too, is you have a really good personality. You enjoy people. I've had some really good accountants in the past, but way back a while, had a guy, he had no personality. He just, is it okay? So that's what we do. But and especially in a business, it is so important to have a CPA like you, because you've got all the things you can bring to the table rather than just the dot the I, cross the T, so to speak.
Right. And when you get beyond that stereotype, and I know the introvert type of personality.
Exactly, yeah.
But when you get beyond that, the industry is actually pushing us accountants. The line being used now is agent of change. CPAs are better suited to be an agent of societal change than just about anybody. And when you really are involved and committed to those types of things, let me use an example. This year, in my practice, I see my number one role, the number one thing that I do day in and day out, is talk with people, clients, potential clients, about separating their beliefs from the facts and data.
I think you're talking about getting separated. I'm already
separated. No, in their minds, understanding the distinction between what are their beliefs and their values, which are powerful, powerful forces, compared to making the distinction between data and evidence. Those are different things.
That's true. Yeah.
And we have lost that as a modern society, and you can blame Facebook and everything else, but the fact is that we have lost that, and my biggest role on a day-to-day basis is drawing out that distinction in conversation with clients. It's not so much about the numbers, which number is bigger than the other, but clarifying the thinking and applying logic, fundamental logic that, like I said, has gotten away from us. But I feel almost blessed that CPAs are strong in those areas with probability and statistics and areas of logic, and the fact that we have to read a lot.
And tell everybody where your office might be.
Right here. So
that's good. So I could go pick your brain every so often.
I love my office on the Bay Shore, but it is so far removed. And just to be in town, nobody wants to come drive down there to see me. So when I need to meet with someone, in town, this would be a whole lot more convenient. So right here on High Street.
Come in. The place is yours. You're welcome, to set up whatever days you need, and whenever you need it. We're here 24/7 to serve you anything you need, which is nice to be able to have. But it is, it's interesting, Tony, because there's a lot of things going on in my world. I've got properties, I got towers, I got buildings, I got all these things, and I need somebody to give me some advice. Some of the stuff one thing looks really great, but it doesn't kick in for 2 years, and that type of stuff. So I got to sort of add, well, what do I do? How do I fund it until I get to that 2-year period of time and things of that nature? But it's been interesting. The one thing I was proud of myself that I did was before Home Shopping Network or before QVC ever went on the air, back in the late 70s. Yeah, it was like 78, I think. What happened, I took over the local cable channel. And those days, all they had like a wheel that went around like this and had 3x5 index cards on it. So it might have, advertisements for those people, and they play the local radio station music behind it. So that would be like maybe 20 hours a day. That's all you had. And I thought, it's got to be something else I can do. I had religious programming on Sundays, and we had sports. But the rest of the time, there was nothing. So I came up with the idea of this auction time show where we would buy and resell merchandise. And that really worked out well. At that time, there were only 12 channels. Most people didn't have the remote. They'd just turn the channel, sit in their chair and watch it. The women loved it. They would buy and buy and buy. One year I did $500,000 retail sales in Millville only. I had 4 locations throughout the county. So that, and then from there I thought, what, rather than me buying my own product and reselling it, why don't I sell products for businesses? So we started Spotlight on Business, or like a jeweler or different furniture stores. They could do that. And then the car show became the home run moneymaker that, they would come on, and I'd give them like Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, Saturday afternoon until that, and they had great success. But now the internet is so much more convenient, so much easier for people to do. Although we are going to try one of the car shows when the weather gets better in the springtime with Lewiston. They're going to come in, and we're going to go there and do a show like we used to. They used to do some fun things. They would during the NCAA Final Four, they'd get a basketball rack and they'd shoot. If we make this basket, it's an extra $100 off, and just cute things that people enjoyed watching. So, but I've always been creative, you know what I mean? But the follow through was tough because of the ADD and trying to stay focused, with it. But it's helped.
You have 2 obvious things that the internet doesn't have. One is high quality production. The fact the screen, it looks good. You can't get that.
That's true.
And the other is you have the connections, the people connections. You know everybody, you know the network, and those relationships between those people that are not yet made. You introduced me to a couple on the way in here that I should know but don't know. And that those kinds of relationships have so much potential unlocked value that if you can find a way to tap into them, that could be dynamic. That's just as an example.
Yeah, and it's funny you said that. Just recently I had a situation where someone came to me with a thing that they needed, and somebody just recently came with exactly what they needed. So I was able to put the two people together, so that they were both happy. The guy got the sale and the lady got what she needed and didn't know where to go to get it. And those things are nice. And it is. I'm lucky. I've got, we were talking about what keeps me alive is the relationships I have with all these advertisers that are on here now. I mean, they're all friends. We have a great relationship, think the world of them, and I'm sure they do me. And I try to help them, bring them on, do an hour show. I mean, like even this show, and if any business person would like to come on, you won't believe how cheap it is. But what you could do is the show that Tony and I are doing now, we are on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So what we'll do is we'll maybe do 4 shows a week, and they rotate until, as it goes on and on. And especially with yours, Tony, it's not really outdated. If we say, well, hurry in, the sale ends March 1st, well, then, that's done at March 1st. But if you need an accountant, here's somebody who can help you not only with the numbers, but with the psychological aspects and all the other things you have to look at, your taxes, what do you need to pay, what should you be doing. Maybe, I keep thinking to myself, I donate, and I never get anything showing that I had donated, the type stuff. So that's something stupid on my part, but I like to help donate to different businesses and nonprofits and things of that nature. So anyway, maybe you'll keep me on track.
Well, things have changed dramatically in the last few years. Well, since 2018 is when that change came in.
Yeah. Oh, did it?
The tax law. Yeah. Before that, you could deduct all that stuff. The things that your mind is thinking about before 2018.
So tell me, I can't deduct anything?
Well, you can. It's just not so easy.
Okay.
Before 2018 was an entirely different tax law, and when you donated something, you would write it off.
Right.
And now that's not the case.
Well, now
anymore.
What do you have to do?
It's just because we have to meet a higher threshold, and most of us, working class schmucks, don't meet it.
Right. Okay. Can't donate 50,000. I only yeah. Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, that helps, and I don't feel as bad that I'm not. Yeah. See, I'm learning already from you, which is very
because
helpful.
our mindset was formed before 2018.
Yeah.
And it may change yet again. It probably will change yet again. We just have to hang around long enough to see it.
We're talking with Tony Novak, who's my CPA, and it certainly could be yours too. In fact, what's the phone number that they could call, Tony?
856-237-9199.
Okay.
That's right to my cell. I pick up my own calls.
Yeah, you are good. I'm glad you do that. That's been wonderful as well. So Tony Novak, CPA, and also the man that has kept Money Island afloat and done a lot of great things down there, still has his cabin down there and doing some great things for that community. One of the #1 oyster distributing places or cultivating
landing
oysters.
port,
landing port is in Money Island. We'll be back with Tony in just a moment.
Imagine living without pain. For over 35 years, Doctors Beebe and Doyle have helped thousands of people find relief from all types of pain. Millville Chiropractic Center has 4 doctors on staff specializing in hands-on or light-touch, drug-free pain relief methods. The examination, x-rays, therapies, and adjustments are all performed at one location. Schedule a consultation today. Enjoy life without pain and discomfort. Millville Chiropractic Center, the area's #1 pain relief center.
At Mintz Insurance, we're proud to have been serving our customers for nearly 80 years, offering 30 different insurance products for your auto, home, and business. And to help ensure that you're getting the best rates possible, we give you up to 3 quotes for every policy, so you can choose what's right for you. At Mintz, we're part of the community, local representatives, supporting events, and proud of it. It's part of who we are. Mintz Insurance. Call today and find out how we can help you save on insurance, or visit us at mintzinsurance.com.
Complete Care has some big news to share with you.
We're here opening more locations and offering more services every day,
including our newest locations on Pearl Street in Bridgeton and High Street in Millville.
We're here with convenient, high-quality, and accessible healthcare services all under one roof.
We're here just a call or email away.
We're here to provide compassionate care for you and your family.
We're here and we're ready when you are.
Complete Care Health Network, ready when you are.
Vineland, New Jersey is a place rich in innovation and deeply rooted in hometown traditions. The city's agricultural legacy, where brands like Welch's and Progresso originated, lives on today alongside companies producing the critical pharmaceutical packaging we depend on. While Vineland continues to grow, it retains a quality of life enriched by cultural diversity and an abundance of nature's playgrounds to enjoy.
I'm Mayor Anthony Finucci. We have something for everyone at VinelandCity.org.
Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always growing season.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. Welcome back to Around South Jersey. Jim Quinn along with Tony Novak, who is a CPA, and he's got his master's, and he's got all the kind of these degrees. But you know what? He also loves Money Island and has been very helpful in trying to resurrect whatever you could do. I guess you own the cabin at Money Island? Or is it the state and they let you run it from them? Or how's that work?
No, it's interesting that you would say it that way. So the buyout was all voluntary.
Okay.
So the people that are left own their properties. Now what's happened is, and this was predicted by the author of the Money Island book, was that the people who stayed have dumped a lot of money into their properties. And like I said, there's only a few of us left. But we've gone from working class people that could just barely afford to be there to a millionaire class that are dumping hundreds of thousands and perhaps, crossing the $1 million mark. We see it in Fortescue.
Yeah.
We see it in Money Island. I don't want to, out any of my neighbors, but the point is there's substantial investment going on down there. I didn't see that coming. I never thought we could do that, and it is happening.
Are you going to get the water sewer also?
No.
Okay.
No.
If it ever comes,
if it ever comes first.
Yeah, God bless.
So the joke is that whenever I raise that as even a remote hope, the Attorney General's office will jump right up and say, "Nope, not happening, not happening. We told you that's never happening." But no, not a problem. When the fact is that when you have a not a dense population.
That's right.
We have like one person per mile down there.
Right. Okay
Septics are not a problem whatsoever. In fact,
do you put them above ground, like a holding tank, or do they?
Mine happens to be above ground, but the fact is, when you have a high density of people,
like in Laurel Lake or something,
right,
or
then
Fortescue,
it becomes a
even,
problem.
it's closer,
but like I said, there's 5 of us left. There's probably going to be something like 5 residences left in Money Island. All will be 7 figures. And people that can afford to put those kinds of, and it's very expensive.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's the reality, and I didn't see it coming whatsoever. But that is what we're seeing. That there are some number of people that look at Money Island and then look at the price of a waterfront place in Avalon, and they say,
"That's a great
I'll
deal."
Stay at Money Island.
You bet. Yep. Absolutely. It's. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's the other Jersey Shore. And like you said, my God, there's nothing in Avalon, Stone Harbor, Sea Isle that's under $2 million. I mean, nothing. They're millions, $3 million, $4 million because they're at the water. That's the entire thing. And, it's great. And that's why Fortescue, Money Island, and Gandy's Beach are on the water. I mean, nothing is more beautiful than sitting and watching a sunset at Sybil's place, the Hotel Charlesworth. You're right there, and of course your cabin too, I'm sure. But having dinner and looking out there and seeing that.
I'll mention that now on my block or from my vantage point, I only have one neighbor left. Everyone else is sold out and gone. So I won't mention his name, but just to use as an example. So this is a guy who loves the Bayshore. His wife comes down and loves the Bayshore. They have put money into their place and fixed it up so that they now have getaway weekends,
sort
of
nice.
romantic weekends.
That's great.
They have adult kids that love the Bayshore. They love to come down and use the boat and use the wave runner and go out walking on the beach. And, we're both parents of adult kids.
Exactly.
When you have kids that'll actually show up and spend the weekend with you, you'll do anything. That is a treasure.
Yeah,
exactly.
it is.
That is something special.
Yeah.
And they have that, and I get to watch from my deck over to their deck, and he just put in a hot tub, and he's got all the toys. He put in new docks, got all the bells. But so I'm joking about it. It's not a inexpensive lifestyle,
no, right?
But for those that can do it, it's a wonderful. I can say that he's got everything in the world that he wants.
We haven't talked about you. I mean, here you are. Tell everybody where you live. You and your beautiful wife.
She gets all the credit. I don't know if you. I'm not even joking. She gets all the credit.
I thought she did.
She found that house.
Yeah.
I had a house in PA. I actually titled it over to her because I had enough going on with Money Island and career and whatnot. We talked about that. Yeah. I just titled my place over to her. I said, "You find another house for us." The kids had grown up, graduated. Right. There was no Lower Merion is wonderful, but no reason to stay. And she found this place we're neighbors now.
Yes, we are.
Down near Union Lake. I didn't see the place until we moved in. As we were unpacking boxes.
She has good taste. It's a very nice house.
Very nice neighborhood. And I didn't even know that part of Millville was even in existence.
Sort of like a special part of Millville.
You better not tell anybody.
No, that's right. We'll keep it quiet. And I got to tell you, the Novaks throw parties. They're just great neighbors. What's really nice, and I mean this especially during COVID, Tony and I and his wife and family and lots of people belong to the sailing club. And during COVID, we would sit outside on the decks and stay 6 feet away from each other and still be able to have something to eat or sit there and have a beverage and talk and socialize, which is what I enjoy doing, and I think most of us do. And that was a blessing for us during that period of time. And you've got John and Dottie as your neighbors. And in fact, Dottie is in the video, the show we just did, and she's a sweetie. Dottie and John Wilson are really good people, and you guys just came back from Jamaica, right?
That's right. Yeah, wonderful trip.
That's good.
And can I throw in also
Sure.
My entertainment specialty, coming from Money Island there, is not surprisingly crabs and oysters.
Oh, that's right.
So we throw a lot of, in fact, we did that every year at the marina. We'd throw community barbecues and, all the crabs and oysters and everything else that you could enjoy. And the intention was and still is to do that here at Union Lake. It's just, as you know, it's been tough.
Yeah, it has.
With this getting anything organized for the last couple of years. But I think that's a personal goal of mine. I think I have two personal goals, and that is to reestablish the group dinners.
Yeah, that were nice.
Whether it's
Wednesday
at Money
nights
Island or Lake.
Right.
The other is I have a beautiful charter boat sitting there, I'm embarrassed to say, in 3 years since the beginning of COVID, hasn't even gotten wet.
Oh, no.
It hasn't even gotten wet. So that's embarrassing. So my goal is to get it in the water and get my friends out on it.
Captain John can navigate
right.
while you're socializing.
Right.
That is super. I didn't know you had that. You guys, actually, there's a pontoon boat at Sailing Club, and you and, your family and John and Dottie, everybody goes out, and that's fun too. But I tell you, and I'm sure you've seen this too, when you bring people down, and like I've had many friends come down and never been to Union Lake before. We go out on the boat and they're looking around going, "Oh my God, this is beautiful. We didn't know this existed." And I said, "Yeah, like you said, a lot of people don't know it exists." And I was talking to Mike De Palma the other day. We were talking about, what's nice about our neighborhood is if you're coming in the neighborhood, you know somebody to visit. It's not a through road that you're going through to go someplace else. So this way we can keep an eye on each other and help if there's any problems.
Can I share a little story about that, tying together the accounting? And so I have a landscaper client from Vineland, pure blue-collar guy, hard worker, but seven-figure business. And
sure.
He wanted to meet with me. His CPA died, common story. Wanted to meet with me. Didn't want to drive all the way down to the Bayshore. At that particular day in Millville, Lori didn't want to have company because she had a meeting, and another one of the adult sons was also working there. So there was no room at the inn there. So I said, "Hey, let's meet at the club." So
that's nice.
Which seemed like a good idea.
Yeah.
But he pulled up, and he was so overwhelmed with the luxury and the beauty of the place. He was almost too intimidated to think, I'm too bourgeois type of accountant. But I had to really calm him down and throw out a few oyster stories and clam boat stories. And then he calmed down and everything was fine ever since.
Yeah, it is beautiful. It really is. I mean, it's such a pretty place. I've done many weddings down there. And like we say, I know Wednesday nights you guys would come down and have dinner, and certainly invite me if I wanted to come down by the time I get done the show and things. But it is a really beautiful place. But you know what I really enjoy? I really enjoy being with you guys and talking, and Larry and Debbie and all the people that are there. We're fortunate to have a nice group of people that are members of the Sailing Club, and Rob Moore does a great job in running the club, and we're very successful. We are doing well, and there's actually a Super Bowl party, but I know you got your whole family coming to your house for Super Bowl. But my family, my son and my grandson are going to the Super Bowl. I could have gone, but just didn't feel like it this year. I went 5 years ago when it was in Minneapolis, and my other son moved to Idaho, so figure I'll go to the Sailing Club and see my adopted cousins and stuff out there. Yeah.
You were talking about, CPAs do a lot of reading. I just happened to be reading a business article this morning, and the focus was the built-up, pent-up demand for socializing, and particularly outdoor socializing. Yeah. It has huge economic and business potential for us.
Yeah.
If you own a marina like me that's closed down, maybe you better get the darn thing open again because people want to use it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even when you think about the Sailing Club, if somebody wanted to bring a food truck down, that would be a business and give the Sailing Club a % or something like that. It would really work out. But, that's what's neat about you, Tony. That's why with your personality, I never dreamed you were a CPA. She's outgoing, he's funny, he's laughing and doing all kind of things. Not that CPAs all don't have that personality, but most of them are more rigid and it's just not as outgoing as you are, which is a good gift you got going for you, right?
I think so. Yeah, it's a good position.
But I can't wait to have you here and can't wait to get all my stuff to you because my current accountant, actually, I like the guy a lot, Matt Preziosi. Matt would buy Phillies tickets and stuff like that. And nice young man, but I can't blame him. He got a phenomenal job offer to be a CFO for a big company. And, he's young and he'll have a great career ahead of him there as well. And I'm glad you're around because, man, I don't know what I'd do without you. I'd probably be in jail.
I just met Matt by phone this week.
Yeah.
And it might be worth noting, the audience might be interested to hear, the statistic that we're hearing within the CPA community is that 1 in 7 CPAs have left the industry in the last 2 years. In other words, during the pandemic era.
Right. Yeah.
1 in 7.
Wow.
And if you combine that, young people are not coming in.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I don't know. I talk every year at Rowan down the road and at a local high school to talk with the kids and as an ambassador for the NJCPA, and they have a great slide program to show the kids. I joke about propaganda to get the kids interested. But they're not really interested. They're not, and I don't know that I can. Put my finger on it.
They probably all have ADD like me. They don't.
Maybe,
sit still.
But I look at it the same way that I cannot recruit a young person to come down and run the marina.
Right.
I cannot recruit a young person to come in and hopefully one day turn over my practice. It's just, for whatever reason, not happening, and I believe it's beyond my scope as a sociologist to diagnose that. I don't know what's happening, and I'm not going to be able to solve it, but we do have to deal with it.
I had a phenomenal worker, Josh Suey, produced shows and all that kind of stuff for me, and then he opted to go into accounting. I don't think I know he was working up the street for the woman on High Street, and she loved him too. Super worker. So I imagine eventually he'll go and get his CPA. He's probably maybe in the second year of college or whatever now. But he's a wonderful person. But it is. I mean, Matt's dad, Jim, was an accountant, and then when Jim passed away, Matt took over the business by himself. Is running it. But I see what you mean. He did have Menzoni Steve Manzoni with him. Steve's a friend of mine, and Steve's in his 70s, and he said, I'm done. I'm not going to keep on, doing it. But, I mean, it is interesting. It is, that because it's pretty lucrative job. I mean, the money that accountants make is pretty darn good.
It can be. It turns out here's a well-kept secret. Accountants, CPAs in particular, are lousy business people for their own businesses. We can talk about somebody else's numbers, but I'm like that. I'm just, and the fact is, I've been, I'm in coaching and for this. I'm just too nice of a guy.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll do anything for anybody, and it winds up coming back and biting me in the tail.
Well, it's funny. I had an accountant. I really liked the guy, and this is when I was doing the millions with the car shows and stuff, and I was paying him a lot of money. So I had the money. And then all of a sudden, all the car shows went away and things really, really dropped. And I said, no, that's what it is. So that's when I left. I said, I can't afford to keep paying this money when I'm making 1/4 of what I made, 2 years ago, a year or two ago. So, you got to sort of hope that they charge it based on your income, not, whatever it is. But again, nice person. And nobody's better than you. So, I mean, folks, you just call. Tell them the number again.
856-237-9199. I'm easy to reach and easy to have a conversation
and he answers the phone.
Yeah.
Which is
and following your example there, so just this week I was talking with a business owner who is going through a downsizing, a tough time. He's lost some big contract and he's struggling, and we were able to have a meeting in the minds. I said, look, you and I get along well. We'll figure this out. I will make sure we get the job done. We don't need to hit a hard number. But the point is, we had a meeting in the mind. So what happens? The very next day, his son texts me, I heard you're doing Dad's taxes. Could you do mine too?
Well, that's it. I mean, with me, you're going to pick up a whole bunch of others too, because all the people that are around and helping work and stuff like that, I'm sure. And it is nice to know. Let me tell you, this is a very nice man. He'll go out of his way to help you and give the opportunity and make sure you get every dime you deserve back from the IRS and all those things that are going on. And sometime I'll have to come down when the weather gets better.
Yes,
we'll come down to Money Island and sit and look at the beautiful water from your cabin in Money Island, right?
Or maybe I can even give you a little boat ride by then.
Oh, that'd be super. Jeez,
so
that'd
again,
be great.
It's embarrassing. I don't even know how to operate my own boat.
Well, that's why we'll bring John.
So wait till I get good at
it. Tony, thank you, buddy, for coming in. God bless you. Good to see you. Tony Novak, and this is funny. Last week I had my dentist on, so tonight I can say, this is my accountant, just like George Crocken was my dentist. So, give him a call. Check it out. Tony Novak, CPA, is ready to take care of you, and you can stop here, make the appointment. I'm sure, you come right here to High Street, 415 High Street, and if you like to go have a beautiful view, you can get down to Money Island and sit in the cabin and look at the sunset, and he'll take care of your paperwork there as well. He's like bilateral by both areas. Two places, that's what I'm trying to say, so it makes sense. Well, thanks again, Tony.
Thank you, Jim. Good to talk to you.
George Kachia, thank you for producing the show today, and I thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you again real soon. Have a great night. Good night, everybody.
This has been a QBC television production, in association with our partners and sponsors. QBC broadcasts on Comcast Cable Channel 22, and live streams its programming on Facebook and YouTube. All rights reserved by Quinn Media and QBC, programming that serves the South Jersey market.